live, man.
We live? We're live. So I want to give a special thanks to everyone in the KVAR studios. I want to give a special thanks to everybody here, especially Marcy Q. We got a special guest today. Make sure you remember to head over to kvar.com. Make sure you purchase some freedom over at kvar.com. So I have a really special guest today. Probably gives one of the best podcasts that's worth giving a listen on a topic that everybody takes for granted and everybody kind of glazes over, and I think he'd agree. So I've had an awesome time not only working for this gentleman but also participating in a lot of his marketing and brand development, and he's gone through so many different iterations that it's exciting to see kind of where he's been, where he's going, and what's been going on with him. We have the one and only Weston Harris from Axil. What's going on? Put your cans on so you can put your cans on, your earphones. He's got to get situated here. He's all discombobulated. He's got
you didn't set him
so
up,
many
John.
new products. I didn't set him up. He's got to get dialed in. So here we go. So it's been a while. We haven't got together and kibitzed a little bit in a minute. I want to kind of get your thoughts from you. I mean, the brand was sportiers. Now we're going through this Axil changeover, and you have so many new products to talk about. Tell me a little bit about the journey, where you were, where you're going, and let's get into the risk of hearing loss.
All that and more. So we've been doing this, the family legacy, heritage. I grew up, you've heard this before, John, a bunch, but I grew up and my family vacation was going out in the desert in Nevada, blowing up mountains with TNT. Some of the first ones out there shooting 50 caliber, shooting jackrabbits all night long, driving old Rokons, for anybody who knows what that is, kind of an old two-wheeler motorcycle, but not a lot more than a motorcycle. You could climb mountains with it. You could go anywhere you wanted with it. I got some of the first Benelli shotguns that we were shooting out there, shooting everything we could. And, and at the same time, my dad, Robert Harris, was one of the pioneers in the hearing aid industry. So my whole family legacy comes from hunting and shooting and helping people hear better. And so fast forward, into my early 20s, I follow him into the industry and I get in and become a hearing specialist with a clinic and grow that into a chain of about 50 hearing clinics, and realize that's not really what I was most passionate about. And what I really wanted to do is bring the most high-tech hearing aid technology over to the outdoorsman, sportsman, which hadn't been done before. So we introduced back in 2000 the first and only all digital hearing enhancement protection product line, and quickly became known as the very best in this industry, in the space of like 18 months. I remember one of the first shoots when I was in the industry, I went on with a shooting team up in Canada, and about 12 guys, when we went up there on a waterfowl snow geese and Canadian geese hunt. And, guys asked me at the first of it, they're like, what are you doing? I said, just getting into the industry with this. And they said, well, what is it? And I said, high-end hearing aids with protection into it. And they said, what's the cost on it? And back then, our top of the line was like $1,800.
And they said, you're crazy.
They said, you're out of your mind. What are you doing? Like, that's never going to go anywhere. And I just smiled. And I said, I know, but after day one, of hunting, let's talk again. After we go out, for this first day, let's talk again, right? So we go out there, and it's like a madhouse. I mean, there's like geese everywhere. To sum it up, there were 12 guys who took 1,500 geese in 2.5 days, right? So it's just like war zone. You go out there, and everybody's trying to talk to each other. Nobody can hear each other. Everybody's ears are just getting ripped apart. They got long strings of toilet paper hanging down out of their ears. I mean, guys who have been out there know what I'm talking about, right? Like, you can't make this stuff up, right? And their ears are so sore. One guy even had a little bit of bleeding happening from his ear because it was so bad. They couldn't talk. It was a ridiculously miserable day, right? We all get back in that night, and before dinner, every single one of those guys who that morning and the day before had been kind of making fun of it all came in and said, hey, go ahead and fit me up. I need those on it. You know, and it just took off from there and just kept evolving from there. You know, it started out as sport ear. Thought that was universal enough, but as we got into a lot of tactical crowds and military and industrial and so many other places who needed this technology and this product, the sport side of it just didn't resonate, right? Guys who are over in Afghanistan are saying, look, you know, this border's offensive. I mean, you know, we need the technology, so we're going to get it, but what we're doing is anything but sport, right? And so we just realized, as much as you never want to have to rebrand, I mean, me, you know, coming up with the brand, the concept, all that, you know, last thing I want to do as a founder is have to rebrand. But we really, you know, looked and found the right edge to it, the right way we wanted to spin that brand to be able to go more universal and make this technology more available to, you know, just I mean, just more available to the crowds that are out there that we deal with, and our primary crowd is these 60 million American guys like us who can be motorcycling, you know, on the weekends. They can be doing industrial or road construction or dentistry or aviation, or, you know, and then on the side of that, they're doing fitness, they're doing hiking, cycling, biking, hunting, shooting, you know, anything. And so our whole evolution on this has been to create a product line that really covers the ears, no matter what you're doing, professionally, recreationally, daily, you know, that we just jump in and take care of whatever's going on with your ears, you know. And
I have a question. You know, I want to stop you there for a minute. I wanted to ask you this since the last podcast, and it's a good question in terms of understanding the shooters and the soldiers overseas and everybody in between. Why is it, Weston, hearing protection becomes kind of the last thing people think about? You know, pretty much you pull up to the range or whatever, and you just kind of get whatever hearing protection's laying around, whether it's foamies or it's these giant, you know, cans that people put on. Why is it you feel it's the last thing on people's mind, whether it's eyewear or earwear, becomes kind of the last thing?
Well, because hearing protection's boring, right? I mean, there's nothing exciting. It's not like pulling up a black, you know, AR-15 and going to town, or a full auto and going to town. It's not like TNT. It's not like any of the cool stuff that you can do. It's just kind of this necessity. But there's nothing cool or sexy about it or exciting. It's just kind of boring, you know, and so that's, you know, where our tagline comes in of hearing performance. You know, I have talked about this with some of the top people in retail and publishing, editorial, all that. I mean, for us, this is not about hearing protection. People always say, no, you know, you guys are doing hearing protection. No, we're really focusing on hearing performance. You know, Axil is really the one who is redefining entirely a new category and getting many retailers and many people on board with this concept that hearing performance is what's exciting. If this was all hearing protection, all somebody would do is go out there and buy the cheapest set of foamies they could get and be done with it and be on their way, right? But when you get out there and you make it all about hearing performance, if you're out there on the range in a competitive shoot, you want to have that edge in your hearing to hear what the guy down the lane is doing. You want to hear, for safety's sake, what's going on around you. You want to hear communication-wise, like waterfowl, you know, that I talked about. Waterfowl's like, you know, I mean, it's kind of like the golf of our industry, right? You get out there and it's social, and you want to interact and you want to talk and you want to hear those geese coming in stereo. If you're in a life or death situation of tactical, you've got to be able to hear and have the edge to your hearing of what's going on. Like, there's just so many cool things that we can do in today's world of technology, where we can give you surround sound hearing for whatever environment you're in. Like it's unbelievable. You know, if you're out there hunting and you hear elk coming in, you know, in a 360-degree surround sound, and you're hearing them a mile away, or you're hearing that buck grunt, or the waterfowl coming in, you know, the turkey gobbling, whatever it is that way. I mean, it's just sounds unbelievably cool. And then when you go and pull the shot off, it automatically protects your hearing. Right now, with Bluetooth catching up to what we've wanted to do, now you can go in there, and if you're sitting in a tree stand, you can go out there and in a tree stand, You'd be sitting there listening to music a little bit of the time if you want to, or you can take a phone call when you're out running around. Like now we're moving into the space where we can do all-in-one technology that just makes it super cool. Like our new earbud line is the only line of its kind out there where you can have a small, tiny pair of earbuds, and you can leave your electronic earmuffs at home. You can leave your noise cancellation headphones at home. You can leave your audio earbuds at home, and now you can just have one set of go-to ears that covers everything for you. It's just way more cool than just hearing protection alone.
Of course, and I don't think people realize how much research and how much brand development you've done peeling into what the military has been through coming back and some of the hearing loss that they've suffered and dealing with the VA. I don't think people understand the research and the time that you've put into this and the back end. And if you can, talk a little bit about the back end and understanding some of the hearing loss, because this is something that's very understated about the brand as a whole, and the digging that you've done to figure out what the root cause is, what's causing some of those issues, and why those guys come back, and that's still kind of a very neglected space. Can you give some of the folks some insight into kind of some of the research you've done into what goes into designing and creating quality hearing protection?
Well, I can tell you've been thinking about this since our last podcast, because now you're going deeper. Mm-hmm. This is good stuff, and it's important. You know, I started, again, I told you, in my early 20s, and I went back in my late 20s to the University of Utah, talked with the dean of communications, who was over the audiology department, said I'd like to finish my PhD. I'd like to get back into my master's and finish up a master's and PhD in audiology. You know, Dr. Lynn Alford sat down and talked with me, and he said, Weston, he said, I'd love to have you in our program. Love to be able to say that you graduated from our program. He apparently knew me and my reputation well, and, you know, in that time I was the leader in hearing clinics in the region where I lived, had several hearing clinics, and was very much the dominant force in hearing clinics at that time. And he just said, you know, you've been fortunate to break through to the leading innovative circles of the world, you know, not just the U.S., but of the whole world. And he's like, you're working with the very best engineers who are on the most cutting edge technology for the hearing aid world. He's like, if I take you through this program, I'm going to be taking you 50 years backwards.
It's interesting.
You know, yeah, he's like, I'm going to take you 50 years backwards. I'm going to charge you a ton of money. He's like, you're going to get through the program, no problem, easily on it, no big deal. But he's like, I would plead with you to please consider staying on the cutting edge of what's going on. You will be able to help a lot more people staying on the cutting edge of innovation than if you come back into my program. And he's like, if I could, you know, recommend anything to you, it'd be stay on the entrepreneur cutting edge of where you're at. And so I have been through everything in this industry. You know, I put together hearing aid programs with CVS pharmacies, with Walgreens, with Cabela's, with, you know, discussed different programs, ideas with Costco hearing programs. I mean, I've just been through this industry in every different direction, online, retail, clinic model, you know, all the way through. And it all just kept moving back to what I was most passionate about, and that was having a program that really covered everything for the hearing, not just a hearing aid program, but something that really covered everything for the ears. And again, our primary market, because they're the ones who are around the most noise exposure, is these 60 million American guys who live multifaceted lives. So I have traveled the world, lived in various parts of the world. You know, we know this globe well and where we get the best technology out of. And there's certain things like high-end hearing aid technology. We get the best technology out of the U.S. all day long. When it comes to Bluetooth, we get the best Bluetooth technology out of the Netherlands. Most people don't realize Bluetooth was created in the Netherlands. And, you know, other things that we get, you know, out of the Hong Kong, Shenzhen area that they do the very best at in the world. I mean, we travel the world and bring together the very best technology that we can into an innovative package the way that we want it done. Every single product that we do, we create from scratch on our own, to our own design, our own specifications, qualifications of how we want that done for our crowd that we're focused on. And I say guys, right, but also, our secondary market is the gals in this space also, with and without the guys, who need that also. We just have a lot more volume demand from guys.
There's so many different facets to this that I want to touch on, and I have been thinking about it a lot, especially, the branding. You've done so much to bring this brand full circle, and I've been doing so much to help folks.
I say you've been right there in the middle of it with us.
I've been trying, yeah, of course, and I've been trying to help people understand a little bit about whether it's the tactical firearms industry and bringing it more mainstream and having conversations that bring it more to the forefront. But I think the mistake that gets made in our industry, and I love that you're going to a broader platform branding by going to Axil and all that. I think the misconception is everybody's trying so hard to be tactical or sport or this or that. And I think what people need to understand is we limit our audience so much by the words we choose and how we brand and how we put ourselves out there. And I think one of the failures of the firearms industry as a whole in the hunting industry is we don't do a good job being all inclusive. We create this exclusive mentality. And you've done a great job being like, hey, we want to make great hearing protection for everybody, for every genre, for all genres. And that's part of the reason why you went to the rebranding and part of the reason why you went to that restructuring around the brand. And I think it's smart. I think it's really smart. And I'm sure it's resonated with a lot of the folks that you've dealt with and partnered with and, created a lot of these sales platforms. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's going in the right direction. Why do you think other companies don't understand that or don't participate in more of a universal branding script?
I don't know. You get in, there's a lot of conversation, around that topic. But I love the creative side of life, the creative side of business, the creative side of, everything. I just love the creative side. A lot of places don't. You get other places that are big companies like, I hate to mention any names here, but, it's like 3M, right? 3M's a great brand, but it's very industrial. It's very stale, very industrial. It's not very consumer
driven.
Cool, right? Consumer driven, consumer cool. It's just a really good, solid industrial product line. Then you have another company like Peltor that's a lot more consumer driven and a lot more consumer cool, which, interesting enough, right? 3M buys out Peltor, I think. So you get a lot of times you get companies in there who are not consumer cool, they're not consumer driven, and then they realize it, and then they're too far down the branding road, and so they go out there and try to buy up smaller consumer driven, consumer cool companies and try to Band-Aid it that way, which is my own opinion, my own take from what I see on it. Then you have another side of it where you get into a lot of MBA classes, courses in today's world, and they talk about the value of niching down, and there's value in niching down, right? But with sport here, niching down was meaning that I was pigeonholed to hearing aids for hunters. And as much as I love hunting in the outdoors, there's a lot bigger story to tell, and there's a lot more people that I'd like to be able to help besides just hearing aids for hunters crowd, right?
That was something we spent a lot of time talking about. I think that, I think niching down in the defense industry as a whole is a huge mistake in many ways.
I do too.
Because you fail to win over even the casual fan sometimes, because this is, and you mentioned earlier, you shy away from sport. I've been saying for a long time, I'd love to see the firearms industry roll up into almost like the action sports genre. I feel Leo will always be something separate. It'll be something aside. But the action sports genre opens up, from a branding marketing standpoint, opens us up to a whole nother host of potential clientele, potential people we can partner with, people we can get with, people that will help us pull this into more of a mainstream. We want to, people talk about the sales pyramid all the time. Who's at the top of the pyramid, who's at the bottom of the pyramid, and how that pyramid's developed within your own brand. And I'm a big believer that you have to appeal to the people on every level. Most people don't necessarily they go to the range, they shoot, they go once a month, twice a month, and they're not interested in necessarily purchasing something that's tactical defense, ninja, something. I think that's good, and that's niching down for sure, but I like what you're doing in a lot of your packaging and branding and how you're taking it more to everybody and making it appeal to everyone, especially in a lot of the stuff you're doing now with Bluetooth.
Well, can I show this for a second, see if that picks up? Yeah, so that's good. You see that Axil brand right there now, right? Super modern, super clean, super stylish, super cool, super, I mean, there's just a good, clean, tough, modern, whatever you want to call it, that's just a good, clean look. Where we started out with Sport Air was a great brand, but it was buck marks, and it was camo, and that's what it was, right? And we nailed it for that crowd of what we were, but then we were stopped and we were pigeonholed to it. Now, this brand, I mean, people that people that you've introduced me to, Navy SEALs, so on, they're like, oh my gosh, this is where we live, this is where we are. Like, they would tattoo that on their arm,
sure.
If we asked them to. They put it on their trucks without us asking them to. Like, we go out with companies like Sig Sauer, like NRA, and they're all, I mean, like, these are gun companies that we've worked with back and forth in the hunting, shooting space for years, and they're all like, this is where you guys have needed to shift to for a long time to have a bigger story, a broader audience to go after, a more modern, cutting-edge look and feel to it, and we have that. I mean, how long have you and I been going back and forth now? For several years, and
5+ years probably.
Right, and that brand transition has taken all of that, and we've really just finished kind of the last of it the last year, and now people are knowing that more and more now as Axil, and we get more internet traffic, search volume, all that stuff coming now through Axil than where we were with Sport Air before, which was good, but we're just gaining more and more momentum. And so here's a quick answer, and my own take on the branding is I 100% agree with you on what you're talking about. And you and I even talked about this a little bit on our last podcast, right? Like, this industry has like the coolest stuff, the coolest gear, the coolest toys, coolest like activities. Like, I bring people in from outside of the United States and take them out for a day of shooting, and they just freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, I've never been able to do this in my life. I never thought in my life I'd be able to shoot a full auto machine gun or, whatever, be able to blow something up or any of that stuff. Like, we have the coolest stuff, and we're not maximizing or tapping it.
Not even close
at all, right? It's almost like this silent majority, right? Like, we're the ones who should be out there being the most loud, the most obnoxious, the most doing the coolest stuff all the time and getting people engaged in it all the time. Like, I love hunting, but if I got to watch another hunting show of turkey hunt, of sitting around for 2 hours to take a turkey shot, I'll go out of my mind, right? Like that. Like, we got so much more cool stuff to do than that.
Weston, it's something that even Q and I in here have spent hours talking about. So much of the marketing in this industry has deteriorated down to mag dumps in the desert. It's like,
sucks.
And that's like where people live and breathe, or they want to do what I call like a tabletop presentation, and it turns into a QVC pitch. Yeah. And it's one of those things that I feel doesn't open the dialogue, and I feel one of the giant failures of that is we've seen iterations of this across the spectrum where, photographers kind of ran the marketing roost in this business. A lot of companies went out, they hired photographers, and everything was still photography because Instagram was very new, social media was very new. We went through this. Mm-hmm. And then as video and audio started coming in, you started to separate the men from the boys, people that could talk and that could get their story out there and that could change the game and tell their story. That became more powerful. I think we're going into a time where just information is so accessible and information is so available, put your information out there. You have beautiful technology. You have beautiful resources available to you to create some of the best technology, as you brought up. But I feel, and this gets into a deeper conversation because I know how smart you are and how much care and thought is put into the brand, that I feel a lot of companies fall short. They're like, well, we'll just take a cool photo and you know, we'll do a mag dump in the desert and that'll sell a bunch of rifles. That doesn't work anymore. That's not the tactic to take. There's other things under the layers, but that's not the way to go anymore.
Well, one of the, in my opinion, one of the best lessons that anybody could take in branding and marketing, to your point, is my gosh, look at the big branding companies of the world. Look at I'm just coming back from family vacation, so I'm thinking, Disneyland, but think Nike, think Under Armour, think just some of these big Oakley. Some of these big brands out there do a phenomenal job at it of not niching down with the brand. They go out there and they come up with a very strong universal brand that can go very well, but then they niche down with the product that they create, a specific product that they create, or specific campaigns, right? And so that's what we're doing with Axil, is following that same lead, that same footprint, that same example of, we have a good, clean, universal story to tell, and then in our individual campaigns, that's where we can niche down on products that we create or on campaigns that we drive out there and communicate with individual audiences and help them understand how they can interact with our brand and come together around it. And that format, everything I've seen, that format has been my favorite, and that is the format that we will continue to apply and utilize in our own branding efforts.
I like that. And as you know, I focus a lot on the content creation programs that people come up with, but I love what you're doing now. How much of your products are influenced by, and I think this is a good thing, because when I was at Inforce, a lot of people don't realize the light was designed around the Glock platform. They wanted to design something sleek and sexy that didn't look like a flashlight attached to the firearm. Mm-hmm. A lot of what you're doing is, I can tell, is influenced a lot by what people are wearing, whether when they're talking on the phone or the different types of hearing protection or earwear that they're purchasing on the street. It seems like you have incorporated the best of both worlds. It's sleek, it's sexy, it creates the seal, but it still looks like a pair of like Beats that you'd buy or something else. How much are you influenced by what the market's calling for and selling and using right now, and how has that served you?
Well, yes to everything that you're talking about. There's two things that I love in product development, right? You mentioned one is looking out there and seeing what people are liking and what's going on and saying, okay, how can we push this farther? So that influences us a ton, but also, I was reading a study years ago by Porsche. They're talking about how Porsche was developed. And the founders, the father and the son duo who really drove that brand big time, they just talked about it and said, man, we just develop products that we love. We're just car guys who develop cars that we freaking love, right? And I just thought, like that's where I want to be. Like, that's so cool. Like, I have gone through, like, take our earbud line, for example, our GS earbud line. If you got in my truck anytime in the last 20 plus years, you'd see that I had 12 to 20 pairs of earbuds laying around at any given time. I've been an earbud junkie for forever, and so it's like I'm sitting there and constantly have had earbuds from $20 to $50 to $300 to $1,500, and just been trying earbuds and just looking forever and how many people are going to connect with what I'm saying right here, to find an earbud that stayed in my ear. Right?
Oh, that's
Imagine
huge.
That, right?
Yeah.
Like, to find it. Like, I have been looking for 20 years to find a good earbud that just would stay in my ear, that would have good sound quality, that would seal the right way, that would be wireless, that would give me all the features that I'd want to handle things the way that I needed to, and that I could have it be my go-to ears. Never have been able to find it. So it was about 15 years ago that I finally decided, you know what, after fitting 30,000 people with high-tech hearing aids and having to do all the custom fitting and the intricate fitting down in the ear canal and getting it all right, it's like, you know what, I'm going to take my expertise and my knowledge there and apply it over to products that I love developing. So part of it is my own passion for that I wanted the product, and I love what Porsche talks about. We're just developing products that we love and that we want to use ourselves, and then looking out there at some of the good innovators. I mean, who hasn't been inspired to some degree or another by the Steve Jobs of the world or the Elon Musks of the world or whatever, people who are out there pushing to take things farther. And even if you're in a big space or a small space, doesn't matter. You can still apply the same principles of innovation as what the big companies do. You can still apply the same principles of branding as what the big companies do. You can still go out there and look and play it on as big of a scale as what you can at the time. I mean, right, the only thing that we're ever limited by is our imagination, by our mindset, by what we believe about the world around us and how we go about things. It's like, yeah, we're not an Apple company by any means, but it doesn't mean I can't go out there and look at some of these big companies and incorporate the best of what I see from them and help advance this cause and take it forward and take it farther.
And I agree 100%. I mean, I've taken enormous amount, and people have said to me, some of the partnerships and brands I've worked with through the years, whether it's Quest or Monster or like Laird Hamilton Superfoods and coffee and things like that, they say, why not Black Rifle, or why not this one, or why that? There's no why not. I just like broader spectrum, different perspectives, different markets, opening different doors, talking to different folks that have had success in different marketplaces and done things a little differently. And like you said, it comes down to mindset. I don't want to fall into a niche or niche down too fast. I want to absorb and hear all the ideas of all these different brands and why they've had success in the spaces they're in, and what's made them successful. You can't help but look at a Monster Energy and see a billion-dollar brand, a multi-billion-dollar brand that's had huge success in the action sports. I mean, you can't watch a UFC event without seeing them plastered everywhere. That logo is burned into everybody's brain. You can't help but see some of those things. I mean, I think what was it? Quest Nutrition just sold for $1.6 billion or something, to Atkins, I believe it was. So, there's so many different facets. And then you look at the underlayers of the company. If you fall in love with the underlayers, whether it's the keto research behind Quest or Monster's vision to take over action sports and bring those to the forefront, I think you're absolutely right, and I think dialing those things in to create a broader message and to uplift a community and to bring a community to the forefront. And when you get that community-driven message and try to be all-inclusive, rising tides raise all ships, right? It brings everybody up. Yeah. And I think that's something you're doing in the hearing protection space, because for such a long time, it was so dominated by this guy made the best low-cost product. This guy made the best high-end product. Mm-hmm. This one company did this, and it was super boutique-y, and this did the best hunting one, like you said. I felt for a long time that what you're doing by getting, it's like a political race. It's like some people start far on the right, some people start far on the left, and then it's a race to the middle. Get to the middle, include everybody, be all-encompassing, and see where it goes from there. And rising tides will raise all ships.
Well, the formula is pretty simple, right? I mean, and I learned this in my hearing clinics. You get it in traditional business mindset. Oftentimes a traditional businessman will come into the hearing aid industry and say, oh, we just need to take it down to the lowest price we can get and just commoditize it, right? Well, I don't know, but I know that in all the time that I was in my clinic, I never had anybody walk in there and say, I want the cheapest hearing aid I can get, right? Like, nobody ever came in and said that. What they came in and said is, I want the very best that I can get for a price that I can afford. And there's a world of difference between those two philosophies for anybody who's paying attention. And most people aren't paying attention. I mean, that's just the thing, is most people aren't paying attention to what's going on that space, and it's like, you talk about everything that you're talking about. I was listening to an interview years ago, listening or reading, I don't remember, but it was from Tom Hanks, right? Somebody was asking him in an interview, they're like, where do you guys come up with your best ideas in Hollywood? And he just was like, what? One clear word: swipe. We swipe everything we can. We look at what other people are doing. We get the best ideas. We swipe everywhere we can get to come up with some of the best ideas, right? And it's a brilliant thing, right? Like, there's nothing cheap about that at all. I mean, this world is full of great examples of people doing great things. That doesn't mean go out there and copycat what people are doing. I think the way that I take it is be inspired by what other people are doing. Be inspired by what the creatives, what the bigger players are doing. Be inspired by what some of the ultra creative small players are doing. Like, be inspired by everybody and incorporate the best you can into what you're doing to make the very best out of what you can from the inspiration of other people, right? And it's like 2 weeks ago, I had one of the top 6 hearing aid companies come out and talk with me and wanting to partner with what we're doing and going through that. And he came out and said, what we're finding in the hearing aid space is we can't get any of the young people excited about what we're doing and want to get on board with what we're doing, and we had just finished up this new catalog, and he had a copy of it, and I just held it up to him and kind of showed it to him again, right, and said, how many people, right? And you go through this, and it's like a very simple story. It's like we do super high performance hearing aids, we do earbuds, we do earmuffs, we do earplugs. That's it. Like, that's what we do. That's the brand. That's what we do. We do the best of each one of those categories, right? So I hold that up to him and I talk to him. I say, how hard of a time do you think we have getting young people involved in what we're doing? He's like, not at all.
Right.
Right? But it's innovation. It's taking things to a new level. It's branding. It's right. Like, if I go through and I do, if I go through and I got to get a hearing aid because I've got hearing loss, right? And do I want to go down to a Miracle Ear or a Bell Tone, or that makes me feel old and broken down and worn out and right, all that stuff, or do I want to go into an Axil who's giving me killer gear for the rest of my life? Like, I've got tactical guys, I've got hunters, I've got outdoorsmen, I've got all kinds of people who have come in over the years and said, man, you've extended my life by 20 years. You've allowed me to be out there being more active, more engaged in the outdoors, more engaged in my competitive shooting, my hunting, my, whatever it is that's going on, or their career, their job, like whatever. They're like, you've extended my life by an additional 20 years by what you've done for me.
Oh,
right?
I believe
that's
it.
priceless.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
I believe it. And I know everything you're doing is at the cutting edge, and even gathering these testimonies has become a huge, passion of yours.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to see play out. What are some of the things you're working on now? What can people expect from you coming up? Because I know you got some stuff with you today you're going to show, but what are you working on now? Give us a little peek behind the curtain on what's coming.
Well,
the SHOT Show's right around the corner.
I know it. And the biggest thing that we're driving the most on right now is our two things: our high-end performance hearing aids, because now we've got the most phenomenal Bluetooth technology inside of it, to where you've got a little app on your phone. You can take calls, listen to music, have hearing enhancement, hearing protection, waterproofed. A little app on your phone allows you to control volume, listening programs on it, lets you find your hearing aid if you've lost it by just pulling up a little GPS map, and right, it's priceless for guys in any outdoor environment, and indoor also, but especially for outdoor environments, to be able to go back through and find your hearing aid if you've ever misplaced it, whatever. So the hearing aids, the performance hearing aids, and performance hearing aids, I mean, that's why we categorize it that way. These are high-tech performance hearing aids. We fit these for professional use, for recreational use, for daily wear. We fit this for guys who need hearing aids during the week and hearing performance, hearing protection products on the weekend. We fit this for guys who have normal hearing. We have a huge crowd of people out there who are using performance hearing aids for normal hearing because it just gives them the coolest product on the planet for their ears, right? And then we also take care of a lot of guys who have mild to severe hearing loss, and this is their hearing aid / hearing performance gear, and it covers all of it, covers the whole gamut for it. So that's a big deal for us. And then my own personal favorite is our new GS earbud line, which gives you all features in one. So again, you can leave, you can leave your noise cancellation headphones, your audio earbuds, your electronic earmuffs at home, and just go in and get a really sleek, nice pair of earbuds that just fit in your ear. We're doing very soft launch on this through the second half of fourth quarter this year, and then really gearing up for SHOT Show. That's the GS Extreme. Gives you can control. These are super cool because you can control your Bluetooth audio here and connect it, and then you can control your hearing enhancement protection here. And so you can have one or the other. You can have your electronic earmuffs here, or your audio earbuds here, or you can have them both on at the same time. So if I'm in a situation where I want my audio going through, but I still need to keep situational awareness around me, like I can turn my audio louder, right, and turn my hearing enhancement softer. Or if I'm in a situation where I've got to keep audio on to a certain degree, but I really want to hear a lot better, I can turn that up louder, and I can turn the hearing enhancement up louder and the Bluetooth audio down softer, or I can balance them right in the middle. I do whatever I want with it, right? So it just gives you like the ultimate earbuds. And, we always do things super rugged for the outdoors, and the cabling that we use, super high-tech cabling, high quality. The only thing that I haven't seen this withstand yet is a SWAT team who ran over it with their truck by accident. They're a big so many 1,000-pound tank vehicle, right? Like it didn't withstand that, but everything else we've taken it through, it withstands it. It gives you the ear hooks on it. But here's the thing about it, for my own personal quest on it, this gives you awesome audio music quality. It stays in your ear. It's wireless. It gives you a very small all-in-one feature earbud that you can take anywhere with you and go through things. We've had some of the top guys in the field, editors, hunters, shooters, tactical, all of that kind of go through this last 4 or 5 year stage development, and you've been part of that also, right? And I keep sending these prototypes out to people to get feedback on it. They're like, no, it's great, it's coming along good, but it's not there yet, right? It's not there yet. Then this year, earlier this year, we go down to SHOT Show and I give out a couple dozen pairs to very key individuals like yourself and other people throughout the industry and say, okay, give me the feedback. Well, everybody came back on that round and said, these now have become my go-to ears. I don't have to any longer take my headphones, my earbuds, and my earmuffs with me. I can just go with these. These sound better. They fit more comfortably. They work better in every way, and they're awesome. And then we also do a ready for SHOT Show. My favorite earbuds that I've ever had in my life. I've been using them since July of this year. I've been working on this for years with some of the best companies on the planet. But it's everything that I just told you on the GS Extreme, but it's our GS Custom. So we go in there and do custom molds of it, custom fit it for you. And then we put 4 quad speakers on each side of a balanced armature speaker that is like what you get inside of $1,500 earbuds, right? Like custom fit, ultimate ear, $1,500 earbuds that aren't even wireless, not even Bluetooth, don't have the hearing enhancement protection to them. We go through and give you all of that technology, that balanced armature, 4 speakers on each side, custom fit, ultra deluxe on it, and you can get it for like $599.
Can you retrofit my old ones with that?
No.
Damn. I got to go all new.
Yeah, you got to go all new on it. But those are, I use those. I use those for everything.
Because I'd use those ones every day.
Yeah, if I'm shooting machine gun, if I'm shooting skeet, if I'm waterfowl, hunting, tactical, competitive, hiking, biking, any of the areas that I get into on stuff. That's all I use now.
I have to ask you, what do you say to the people that say, you know what, Weston, I'm just going to go out and buy Sonic ears. I saw them on TV. I'm going to buy Sonic ears. The infomercial, everybody's seen it. I want to buy those because I feel like those are a cheaper. They're like get 1 pair, you get 7 free. How does that technology and how out of sorts is that technology compared to what you're bringing to the table?
What I say to them? What I say to them is, God bless you. Come see me in a year from now. That's what I say to them.
When you're deaf.
That's right. Come see me when you've tried it and you see what it is. Gosh, if I wanted to sell $39, cheap Chinese stuff, because it's what it all is, right? I can go buy that stuff for $2 in China, sell it for $30 here in the U.S. But what people don't realize on that, which is a little more serious, right, is that sound quality is so harsh, and the distortion and all that is such garbage trash sound, right, that it actually damages their ears more over time, and it just ruins the quality of your own internal hearing over time, right? If you sit there and you're listening to distortion all the time, that damages your hearing. That messes your hearing up. Like, I wouldn't put those in my ear for nothing. If you want a cheap product, go out there and buy some foamies. Gosh, go to our website and buy the foamy earplugs and forget about it. Or go out there and buy the dynamic filtering earplugs that we do for $20, $25. But don't ever put electronics in your ear that are damaging to your ear because they're giving too much distortion and harsh sound to your ear and literally ruining the quality of the nerve that goes from your ear up to your brain.
Oh, sure.
Like, that's seriously about the dumbest thing that somebody can do, and only because they didn't have the information to make a more intelligent decision, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I always find when I'm working with people, if you give people enough information for what you're dealing with to make an intelligent decision, everybody I've ever met in my life goes ahead and makes an intelligent decision. Right, so if people understood that better, nobody would be buying that product. But that is trash electronics giving harsh distortion sound to your ear, and it will ruin the quality of the nerve in your ear, and that is irreparable over time.
I want to, before we get to your website and where everybody can find you and where everybody can make a purchase, which I know Q will pull up.
You saw that question about the tracker earmuffs, didn't you?
Where's that?
Daily Shooter was asking about that.
Oh, yeah. What's the NRR on the tracker earmuffs?
25 dB NRR.
Daily Shooter 25 dB.
Yeah, so let me explain one thing real quick. People will see this more as on everything that we're doing. Like, the thing that's really cool now is, like, I'm done with this product line I've been wanting to do. Like you said it 2 weeks ago when we were scheduling this podcast. You're like, are you kidding me, Weston? As long as I've known you, you've been telling me you're almost done. You're almost done.
Tinkering.
Right. But I'm done. Like, now I'm done. And so now that I'm done, like, what do we do next? Like, you asked me, what are you doing next? I'm not even thinking about products that we're pushing. I'm thinking about, like, what are we doing next? Like, we're going out there and we're telling the story everywhere that we can because we're done. The branding's the way we want it. The product line's the way we want it. The innovations. Like, there's not a company on this planet. There is not a company on this planet who takes this specialized of an approach to your hearing. Right? And we're here totally all in. You cannot find a company that does everything from foamies to cutting-edge high-tech Bluetooth hearing, performance hearing. It's like, you can't find it. I mean, Axil is the source, right? So what we'll be doing is going out there and telling the story to everybody. And so one thing on this note that we'll be making sure everybody starts to understand is when you get into hearing protection, and this is to who did you say it was asking?
The Daily Shooter. I got to hook you up with that
Daily Shooter. Yeah, so I'm familiar with Daily Shooter, and I appreciate the question on it. That's good because people don't realize there's two different types of hearing protection, and there's two things that they should be looking for in their ears. One is the physical protection that it gives. The other one is the technology shutoff that it gives, right? So that's important to understand. There's two different types. The dBNRR, or the decibel noise reduction rating, is what that stands for. That's the physical hearing protection that you can get. And that just says I go in here and I put a substance of material, some type of material on my ear. That's going to give me a physical barrier or a physical dampening of that sound wave coming in. That's going to give a physical dampening of that to the tune of about 20 to 30 decibels of dampening, essentially, is what that's saying, right? The other side of it is when you have performance hearing devices like what we do, that sound comes through, and then that technology inside decides what's going to be amplified, what's going to be shut down, what's how all that sound is going to be manipulated and retuned before it goes back in and hits the inner ear. And that's your technology shut off on it. And so, like OSHA says, if you're around loud sounds for 8 hours or more, you want to that are 85 decibels or louder, you want to have something that's shutting off any loud noises over 85 decibels. So that's kind of the standard that we go by. But anywhere from 80 to 90, sometimes we'll do products that tune in around 90, 92 shut off because it gives a lot better hearing quality up to that point. And for the loud impulse sounds, like 90 to 92 is fantastic. You're not getting loud impulse sounds for 8 hours consistently, steadily coming through there. So we adjust it to where we get that sweet spot, for hearing balance and hearing protection balance on it. But you always want to pay attention to those two things. What's your technology shut off on it? You want to be in an 80 to 95 range. And on your dB NRR, you want to be in a 20 to 30 range. Foamy earplugs give you the best, but they also don't give you any hearing performance to it. So the earmuffs, the tracker earmuffs, give you 25, which is great for a earmuff on it. And then the GS earbud line, if you have the foamies on it, that gets you more up into a 29 to 30 range. If you get the performance hearing aid side, that gives you around about 27 dB NRR for custom fit. So everything we do most everything we do has a 25 to 30 dB NRR rating to give you the best protection you can get.
Let everybody know where they can find you and where everybody can check you out. Q, pull up the website. So it's Axil.
Yep. Pay attention to the spelling. Axil is AXIL. If you look at the definition of Axil, it actually has to do with design for the outdoors on it, which is one of the reasons that we love the name. One of many reasons, and then the website is goaxil.com. So it's just GOAXIL.com. Go there and find us. Check it out. We'll be doing a merging of catalog and website this weekend and refreshing that up. So check it out this week. Check it out this weekend after we've done more, and start watching it, because everything we'll be doing is just doing tons and tons of content around the issues that go around your hearing, and start helping people become as educated as possible about ringing in your ears, tinnitus, hearing loss, how you get it, hearing protection, wireless earbuds. I mean, there's so many. Like, this is not hearing. We are not here for hearing protection. We are here for hearing performance. And everything that you see Axil do from here on out will be redefining this category. We are a hearing performance company first.
And of course, there's the Instagram and everything else, and the best place is probably through the website. Hit the Contact Us tab. But I can't thank you enough for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Believe it or not, it's been an hour. I appreciate.
Always good to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and visiting us over here and spending some extra time with us and educating some of the team. And I know you'll be bouncing around. You'll be over at 702 later today, and you'll be visiting some of the folks over at JJ's shop. So I can't thank you enough, not just being an employee of yours through the years, but also working closely with you and getting to know you as a friend. It's been super, super helpful through the years, and I can't thank you enough for not just being there for me to listen and take everything in and learn from you, but also just your friendship and spending time with you. This has been super educational, and I always learn something from you. There's no doubt about that. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
Well, thank you, and likewise.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I want to give everybody one last shout out. I want to thank everyone in KVAR. I want to thank everyone at KVAR.com. I want to thank everybody here in the studio, Q, Marcy, and everybody for taking the time. This will be available on iTunes, and remember to hit like and subscribe, guys. I know I don't bring that up that often. Remember to tune in and hit like and subscribe on all the channels. And Q,